Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the annual joint meeting of the City Planning Commission and the Capital Long Range Improvement Committee. Today is Thursday, May 9th, 2024, and for the record, my name is Chris Meyer, and I am the president of the Minneapolis Planning Commission. At this time, I will call to order this special meeting of the Planning Commission, and after we're done setting the agenda, I'll turn it over to the CLIC committee chair to convene their meeting. Will the Planning Commission clerk please call the roll to verify the presence of a quorum?
Commissioner Baxley is absent. Campbell.
Here.
Chowdhury is absent. Conley.
Here.
Emmerich is absent. Jones is absent. Meyer.
Here.
Olson.
Here.
Thompson.
Here.
Wagner. Here. We have 6 members present.
Thank you. Let the record show that a quorum is present. May I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor of adopting the agenda, say aye.
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 Opposed, abstentions? The agenda is adopted. And with that, I'll turn it over to John Bernstein, the chair of the Capital Long Range Improvements Committee.
Good evening. My name is John Bernstein, and I am the chair of the Capital Long Range Improvement Committee. I will now call this meeting to order and ask that the CLIC clerk call the roll so that we may verify the presence of a quorum.
Adam.
Present.
On.
Here.
Bakken.
Here.
Bernstein. Here. Bernberg. Here. Bridges. Absent. Caprini. Absent. Erlinson. Absent. Foster. Here. Hanson. Owen.
Here.
Husted. Here. Jones. Absent. Kazinka.
Here.
Komorowski.
Here.
Like.
Here.
Motter.
Here.
McConnell. Absent. McCormick. Absent. McMahon. Absent. Miller. Nigro. Here. Roach. Absent. Satanadon. Absent. Shoke.
Here.
Schroeder. Absent. Juan. Absent. Woodworth. Here. We have 17 members present.
Thank you. With that, we will proceed to our agenda, a copy of which was posted for public access to the city's Legislative Information Management System, which is available at lims.minneapolismn.gov. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Okay, there's a motion to, that's been seconded to adopt the agenda. Is there any discussion on that? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and the agenda is adopted.
All right, so we only have one discussion item, and that is a public hearing to consider the proposed capital projects for the 2025 to 2030 Capital Improvement Program. And the staff for this is Shanna Sether.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Shanna Sether. I'm a city planner for the City of Minneapolis in Community Planning and Economic Development. The item being introduced is a state law and charter required joint public hearing between the Capital Long Range Improvements Committee and the City Planning Commission. The purpose of this public hearing is to receive public testimony on capital budget requests for the years 2025 through 2030 capital improvement program. All written comments and a summary of this meeting will be included in the final CLIC report to be provided to the Mayor and City Council. The public hearing will be open for any members of the public to speak. Once testimony is complete, the public hearing will be closed, and the City Planning Commission will have the opportunity to ask any questions to the Capital Long Range Improvement Committee about the process or any proposals. CPET staff will return to the City Planning Commission in 2 weeks for our regularly scheduled Committee of the Whole meeting on May 23rd for the location and design review of 21 new projects that are proposed. The purpose of our presentation will be to determine compliance with the city's comprehensive plan, Minneapolis 2040. Some of the staff assigned to the capital budget requests are available today and may be available to answer questions if any come up. Questions that are not able to be answered this evening will be collected by Medell and myself, and we'll work with finance staff to follow up with answers. Thank you very much for being here tonight.
All right. Thank you, Shanna. I'll now open the public hearing for the proposed 2025 to 2030 capital improvement projects. Is there anyone here who would like to speak on this item? If you would, you can come approach the podium. Is there anyone in the audience here to speak? Great. So you can approach the podium, tell us your name, neighborhood if you like, and you can have 2 minutes.
Hello. My name is Bob Day. I live at 1101 Main Street Northeast in Minneapolis. I'm here to talk a little bit about 13th Avenue and 2nd Street in that area. With the help of our councilperson, Michael Rainville, there's been several public hearings trying to gather information and feedback from the neighborhood. There's also a survey that was sent out. I would, of course, welcome anybody to drive up 2nd Street to 13th Avenue. I've lived in that area now for 13 years, and it's been a case of crumbling road, crumbling sidewalk. My wife happens to be a person who operates out of a scooter, and it's highly dangerous for a normal person. For somebody who's disabled, it's kind of a disaster. We do know this wraps around and entails the main water line. It goes down 13th Avenue and goes all the way to the river, which makes improvements a very expensive undertaking. But this has been kind of pushed back. We had one meeting where somebody from Public Works was there and spoke to the fact that, you know, there's a formula used to decide projects that move up, projects that move down. I really don't think if one looks at this area for a period of time, they would doubt that there's a need. It's a case of just when it needs to get done. It happens to be, ironically, one of the hot neighborhoods in our city. New restaurants that are attracting a lot of attention. Young Joni, Nixta, but that's, you know, that just makes it more visible to a wider scope of the public who maybe wouldn't have been coming into this area some years ago. So I just want you to know there is a united consensus among residents. It's an obvious problem, and we just really hope that it gets pushed forward as opposed to back in that 25 to 30 agenda, because I think the city would be well kept to do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony. Would anyone else like to speak? Go ahead.
Hi, I am Marilea Brown, and I'm a resident of Ward 9 in Powderhorn Park, proud Minneapolis resident. So I am here with a group of neighbors and supporters of the Southside Greenway. Many of you may be familiar with this concept already. It's a proposed north-south bike and pedestrian corridor that would connect 12 parks and trails using the concept of a greenway, where cars are not the #1 priority. The proposed trail is based on many years of resident advocacy and community engagement, and the route has been incorporated into long-range plans already within the city of Minneapolis, as well as the Minneapolis Parks and Recreation Board. Most of the route can be found on the city's Transportation Action Plan and the All Ages and Abilities Network. And so, we agree with the city's assessment that we need infrastructure that is inviting and comfortable for people of any age and ability, not just experienced bicyclists who, seem to find traditional bike lanes to be sufficient to get around. So if the city is serious about our Vision Zero goals and our commitment to Vision Zero, creating corridors like the Southside Greenway is critical to ensuring that people can move safely around our city. This project also aligns with the city's climate equity plan goal of making 3 out of 5 trips taken by foot, bike, or transit by 2030, and to reduce carbon emissions by 30% by 2025 and reach carbon neutral by 2050. Happy to reflect back your goals. And so I am personally interested in the Southside Greenway because I live along the route. I'm right near Powderhorn Park, and I'm a confident biker. I've been biking since I was, basically able to walk. And, that's really not the case with everyone in the city. I want to be in a city where folks who are 8 years old or 80 years old can hop on a bike lane or a protected bike route where, it's stress-free. And I think that we can absolutely have that city. We just need to prioritize projects like this. And of course, I should not forget to mention that the city has already prioritized many sections of this route. So in the map that I distributed, you can actually see that many sections of the route are already funded or scheduled for improvement. And so our ask here today is to think holistically about the Southside Greenway route and to connect them, to prioritize biking and pedestrians. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your testimony. Do we have any other speakers? You can come on up. And everyone who's going to speak, can you raise your hand if you're interested in it? I'm just trying to get a sense of how many speakers we have. So 2 more? Okay. Thank you. Go ahead and tell us your name and neighborhood, and you have 2 minutes.
Sure. My name is Julia Eagles. I live in Powderhorn Park in Ward 9, and I'm also here to speak in favor of the Southside Greenway. So as you heard, the Southside Greenway is a planned north-south alignment that would connect 12 parks and trails from downtown through South Minneapolis. As you can see on the maps that were distributed, it follows 11th Avenue downtown through Ventura Village, over to 10th Avenue in the Phillips and Powderhorn neighborhoods, through the Southside Green Zone, and then over on Park and Portland, south of 40th Street. And this route has been developed and refined through several rounds of community engagement that some of us have been involved in since back in 2015. We did a process that included a bunch of block parties along the route. We did detailed surveys and collected feedback from neighborhood groups. And there was a final report that's actually on the city's website showing some proposed route options. And it's now included, as Marilee spoke to, in the Minneapolis Park Board South Service Master Plan and also the city's All Ages and Abilities Network. There are several sections of the Southside Greenway that are already in place or will be built soon. Again, the map shows some of that. And we really appreciate that the city has already taken action to improve several sections of the route. Our request today is for CLIC and Public Works to make the overall route a priority for seeking funding so that the existing and planned segments can be connected. We understand that the CLIC process is long range and that this project won't be funded or built tomorrow, but our request is that Public Works begin seeking funding for the Southside Greenway. This would include applying for regional solicitation funding, as well as any other sources for which the project would be eligible. And our request is that by next year at this time, the Southside Greenway is included in the CLIC report. There are a number of projects listed in that list of proposed capital projects, including protected bikeways, the All Ages and Abilities Program, safe routes to schools, pedestrian safety, and Vision Zero that could all support the project. And specifically, there's a project related to the 10th Avenue Bridge over the Greenway, which is a really critical connection point that we're advocating remain closed to vehicle traffic. So that bridge, there's hospital access that could still happen from either end, but just to really have that greenway to greenway connection be maintained. And personally, I'm interested in the Southside Greenway because I also live along the route, also on 10th Avenue, and I see people using it all the time. There's people coming up and down that street all the time, walking their dogs, hanging out with their kids, going running, biking to connect to the Greenway. We have a ton of block parties. And I'd really love for it to prioritize accommodating people more than cars. And I see a lot of the ways that people are using it already and really could use it that much more. And I always like to say my personal dream is to be able to cross-country ski from South Minneapolis to downtown in my lifetime. So I think the Southside Greenway could accommodate that. All right, thanks for your time.
Thank you for your testimony. The next speaker can come on up.
Hello. Hello, everyone. My name is Stephanie Austin. I live in Ward 8 in the Bryant neighborhood, and I'm also here to speak on the Southside Greenway, and I'm going to be focusing on the park connections that the Greenway would make. So first, I want to emphasize that the park access is an equity issue. Some of our most important and popular parks are defined by miles of connecting trails like the chain of lakes or the Mississippi riverfront. However, in our most diverse neighborhoods, our parks tend to be more isolated and less connected for now. We are lucky that in the center of South Minneapolis, there are many great parks. A good connecting route would make these 12 parks and trails easier to access and enjoy by a very diverse group of people. A fully completed Southside Greenway with good wayfinding and safer crossings at intersections would be amazing. And as someone who is not the most confident biker, I really lean into that being amazing. But to highlight just a few of the parks that I'm sure you're all familiar with, at the terminus, or what you might think of as the start on the north side, we've got Gold Medal Park that's got stunning views of downtown and the Mississippi River. A 10-minute walk away is Elliott Park, which has a skate park, a full-size turf soccer field, in addition to the standard array of neighborhood park amenities. A 10-minute walk from there south is Phillips Park, which includes a gym and a pool that's open to the public with no membership required. So again, making this more accessible through a safe route would be really amazing. A 5-minute walk from Phillips Park is Stewart Park, which boasts one of the biggest playgrounds in the city with a splash pad. A 10-minute walk south from there is Powderhorn Park, which I think many of us are familiar with. I spend a lot of time there with my dogs. It's 20 city blocks, has a lake, a fishing pier, outdoor swimming, etc. And the Southside Greenway would also connect the Phelps Field, which I live right next to, Pearl Park, Diamond Lake, Todd Park, and just across the border in Richfield, the 70-acre Veterans Park. It's really fortunate that all of these parks already exist and that they are aligned in a north-south line in the heart of South Minneapolis. We appreciate that the city has already taken action to improve several sections of the route, and getting them connected with the Southside Greenway will make them easier to access and enjoy. And like I said, on a personal level, I'm passionate about this project as I'm not the most confident biker, and I just moved back from California about a year ago, and one of the things I was most excited about was to move back to a city that prioritizes safe biking routes, because I want to be safe and confident that people are separated a bit, or that we have car-free zones for bicyclists that ensure safety for our citizens. So please support adding this to the CLIC budget in the next cycle, and thank you for your time, everyone.
Thank you for your testimony. Next speaker.
Hi, my name is Anna Peter. I live in the South Uptown neighborhood. I am also here to speak in support of the Southside Greenway because I would like to see more protected bike pathways infrastructure in our city. I currently am very afraid to bike in Minneapolis unless it's in a protected lane, and I think a lot of my neighbors and friends feel the same way. And I would love to be able to bike to work, to the grocery store, to my friend's house safely, but I currently can't do that without a protected lane. And I understand that project planning and funding takes time. And so I'm requesting, like others, that you encourage Public Works to begin seeking funding for the Southside Greenway at the next available opportunity. And I want to thank Public Works for the staff for the improvements that have been made along the route over the past few years. So, thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Next speaker. Do we have one? Okay.
Hi, my name is Jeremy Winter, and I'm also here to testify in favor of the Southside Greenway. The Southside Greenway would fill a very important gap in our north-south protected bicycling infrastructure in South Minneapolis. Notably, we have Bryant Avenue South, Blaisdell Avenue South, the Hiawatha LRT Trail, but in between all that, there's this very conspicuous absence of protection. If you want to go north-south, I've heard people say things like, "You've got Park in Portland, those are enough." I don't believe that's true. I think we deserve to treat, our citizens better than that and give them options where they don't need to be afraid at all. The Southside Greenway also has the benefit of going north-south alongside the Metro D line. And this time of year especially, I saw 2 buses today, D-line buses, that had full bike racks. If we really want to leverage capacity of that corridor the best and give it what it deserves, I think a protected bike trail would be amazing. Where I live on the east side of Powderhorn Park, I basically have to go a dozen blocks east or west in order to get any sort of protection. And it's just very unfortunate, especially because 10th Avenue is already the best way to go up to the Midtown Greenway. I mean, with those 2 traffic lights on Lake Street and 31st Street, I go up it all the time. It's really useful, and those traffic lights would continue to be really useful. As other people have mentioned, there's a lot of good things going on with 10th, the bollards and whatnot further south. We're so close. I think, I don't know, I think this is a very common sense project that would do a lot of good for the neighborhood. And yeah, thank you very much for considering it. Have a good day.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak? Go ahead. Yep. Tell us your name and neighborhood, and you have 2 minutes.
Susie McMillan, and I'm at 401 South First Street, so just like 6 blocks that way. I wasn't planning on speaking, but I will, just to encourage you guys to focus on carbon reduction projects or projects that have carbon reduction goals. I think that we have, if we look at the past, we haven't quite met our carbon reduction goals in our climate equity plans, and I'd like to see more projects brought forth that have that as a focus. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Anyone else? All right. I'm not seeing anyone else, so with that, I will close the public hearing. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion from commissioners? Commissioner Olson.
Thanks. So I'm glad to see the Northside Greenway moving forward because I know we heard about that last year. And my experience with the CLIC is that you guys have you do a really good job prioritizing. I think your approach is very thoughtful and equitable. So really, I trust what you guys are doing. But I guess my question is more about process, and maybe it's a question for staff, but we're hearing about a project that isn't in the CLIC report. So how do residents or staff move a project into the CLIC's purview?
I'll take a stab at that. So that's one of the purposes of this meeting. When citizens show up like that and say, hey, we've got an asset that needs attention and we don't see it in the plan, we'd like to see it in the plan, that's what they've done tonight, is they've put CLIC on notice and Public Works on notice that this is something that they feel is important. And, CLIC will certainly consider it and ask some questions of Public Works as to why we haven't seen it in the plan. Just for clarity for everybody here, CLIC doesn't propose projects. City departments propose projects and bring them to us, and then we rank order those projects in terms of their importance with a very clear framework that we use that you can see online.
Any further discussion? Commissioner Conley?
Thank you. So I have a question that's very similar to that. When you are presented with various projects to be submitted, are they scored in a way? For example, was the Southside Greenway one that just didn't make the list? Sometimes when we see funding for housing recommendations, we'll get, here's what was funded, here's what wasn't, and here's why. Do you have anything like that you refer to when projects are submitted to you? Thank you.
Sorry, just clarify that one more time for me.
So you don't make decisions, but Public Works will bring you projects, right? And do you see what projects may have been applied for but weren't submitted, or is there a scoring system? How does it work when you get those projects, and maybe what wasn't? Do you ever know what wasn't included and why?
So it's yes and no, I guess would be the answer to that. There is not a formal process where we see everything that a city department considered and what they actually brought to us. From that perspective, we just see what they bring to us. But a meeting like this, we find out about something that maybe Public Works has considered it, maybe they haven't, but now we know there's an interest from that perspective. So it's an important point that I think gets missed sometimes with what CLIC does. We're not the grassroots figuring out everything that's out there in the city that needs attention, right? So that just underscores the importance of this meeting and a couple of other public listening type sessions that we do like this to breach that problem that you're identifying, which is that we don't know what we don't see.
Thank you. Any additional questions or comments? And Shannon, do you have more to expand on that?
Yes, thank you very much. Just as a point of clarification, the Northside Greenway project is a project, and so it has identified segments and has made its way through the process. Several of these segments shown today are included in other programs, and certainly we could follow up with some additional information, but it's not a standalone project that has the segments as shown in the handout that the commissioners received today.
So do you have any further guidance for members of the public who came today on how they can advocate to get this moving forward?
What I can do is I can follow up with my business card, and we can make a connection to make sure that we're connecting you to Public Works staff, so we can answer that question. We can kind of clarify the segments that are included or proposed for inclusion, and how the programs are meeting those needs.
Great.
Thanks very much.
Thank you for that, and I'll add my own comment that I think that the Southside Greenway would be a great addition to see.
I'll just add one quick thing. I think Commissioner Olson's point when she talked about the Northside Greenway, excuse me if I'm putting words in your mouth and correct me please, but Northside Greenway started out just like Southside. It was not in the plan. We knew nothing about it. They showed up at this meeting 4 or 5 years ago, just like you guys did, and spoke clearly about what the need was, and now it is a project.
A great lesson to learn from. Commissioner Wagner.
Thank you, President Meyer. I'll add one thing about connectivity of bike lanes. Seeing this map with the bike lanes partially implemented is a step in the right direction, but we need to make sure that we're connecting these bike lanes. I biked here today, and I took the Bryant Avenue, I don't know if there's a formal name for that, but the Bryant Avenue bike lane, and it spit me out at Lake Street, and then the bike lane just abruptly ended. And whenever I'm biking and something abruptly ends, or maybe it transitions from protected to not protected, it only needed to go one more block to get up to 28th Street, which has a full bike lane. So we need to be really thoughtful as a city about making sure the connectivity of our bike lanes and the routes people are taking them are really purposeful and really thoughtful. So that's all I'd add.
Thank you. Further discussion, commissioners? All right, seeing no further discussion, I'll direct the clerk to receive and file that report. And with that, we've completed all the items on our agenda. Staff, are there any other matters that'll be coming before this meeting? No? Okay. All right, if there's no objection, I will declare this meeting adjourned. Our next Planning Commission meeting will be Monday, May 20th, 2024, and our next Committee of the Whole will be Thursday, May 23rd, 2024. So I'll hand it back over to Chair Bernstein.
Thank you. So with that, the CLIC portion of the meeting we've completed that agenda as well. So I'll just ask CLIC members and staff if there are any other matters to come before the meeting. Hearing none and without objection, I'll declare this meeting adjourned. Our next meeting will be Wednesday, May 15th. Thank you, everyone.